Hello there, people of YouTube. I'm gonna try and do my best here to explain what it is that I'm doing with the landing lights, and if it comes out like I think it will, I'm gonna put this out on the internets. So if you're seeing this, it came out well, and I'm pleased with myself. If not, I guess I have a video of where it all started to go wrong. Anyways, I'm gonna flip this around. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna attempt to do on the landing light, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here's the leading edges. Here's a landing light that I have trimmed. Now, the first thing that I did here, see if I can get better light and see if, yeah, you can kind of tell. Okay, you can tell that this has been trimmed, this edge has been trimmed a little bit. And it's, if we put it on pretty much exactly like it's gonna go. So what Vans wants you to do is once you trim 3/4 of an inch all the way around, then they want you to stick on the backing plate and then figure out 1/4 of an inch past that and then trim again. So I decided to essentially not quite do that. I figured out that 3/4 is fine all the way around here. None of that matters until you go to butt up against here. And so what I did is I figured out the dimensions here. And so the rib does not go, the teeth of the rib, or flanges, I guess is the proper term, do not stick out here enough. So 3/4 was fine at the top. But starting here to here, I had to taper down a little under 3/4. I don't remember exactly what my measurements were, but anyways, so this is essentially this, and I've tested it with this one right here into this one, and it does fit just fine. So I shouldn't need to do any extra trimming, and I think I'm gonna leave it that way, because why trim even further out than 3/4 when that can risk some cracking, especially if you don't have enough edge distance. That's at least my personal opinion. I'm sure Vans knows that, like, it's not prone to cracking if it's still within 1/4, et cetera, and that's why they tell you to do that. But hey, why not leave some edge? Anyways, so here is my master plan though. I have taken this, and you can barely see it. Yeah, you can, it's coming out. So I put this in here, I slid it all in like this, et cetera, used my other hand to push it up against the inside here. And what I'm going to do is, you can see I drew the outside outline like they said, and then they say to glue on the backing plate, which is this. I'm not going to quite do that. My plan is, because people are saying that this lens does not fit snugly up against the skin sometimes when they install it. So my plan is, you can see I drew the 4 holes on this side and the 4 holes on the other side. My plan is to drill this hole and this hole just a hair, and I mean like 1/2 millimeter down this way, to when then I can put the backing plate on. I can figure out where the other 2 holes are going to be, because those are gonna move slightly this way and then somewhat this way, just a hair. So anyways, with these 2 holes, I'll put in screws. I can figure out where these other 2 holes are supposed to be. I will drill those, and that should mean that everything is just slightly down to where then whenever I put it in and I put the screws in, it's somewhat pulling this lens up against the skin. Now, with all that said, I do also realize that's going to put tension on this plastic piece. And while it is quite thick, I'm going to guess it's, I don't know, 3/8, maybe 1/4. While it is quite thick, that could crack it. So your mileage may vary on this one. That's just my plan, to keep it as tight to this skin internally as I can. We'll see how it goes. Okay, people of YouTube, this actually worked out kind of well. I probably went a little too far south on the hole, if I'm honest with myself. You know, do better on that one, whatnot. As you can see, to get the screw in, there's a lot of tension. You can see how it's kind of sticking up at the bottom there and getting pulled into the skin there. Currently, I don't have the, let's see if I can do this. That is tough. Okay, there you can see the screw. So I don't have the backing plate, which would be this thing, on, because I need to do the 2 other holes before I do that. And then what I'm gonna do, unlike Vans, they said just use some sticky tape on this and like tape it in there. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a bead of clear silicone, you know, from this rivet to this rivet, etc., etc. And then I will carefully stick it up in here, screw it on, and then just let the silicone dry itself. But anyways, moving on. I am liking the fit and the finish here. There's a little gap in here, but that's all gonna sort itself out once I actually get the backing plate and I screw this down. So I'm not worried about down here. What I was worried about is this edge here, and that's where drilling these 2 holes just a little bit south helped pull this up and into the skin here. And once I take off the tape, hopefully that allows just a little bit of give here to where that's not getting really forced in. But as you can see on the other side too, nice and flush. So I'm very happy with that. I know that there's manufacturers out here that make kits for these things, but I wanted to try this myself and see if I couldn't make something work here. And I'm really liking this. Actually, it looks pretty good, but I think I'm seeing somewhat similar to the same problems as other people. Mine are luckily solvable. So from here all the way over to here, I have great fitment, which it would be tough to solve that. And I do believe that's because I drilled these holes a little bit south on the plexiglass here and a little bit south on here too. And so I think that these 2 holes and these 2 holes are essentially holding it nice and flush on both sides. You can't even really get a fingernail under there or anything. So I'm very happy with that. Now, as you can tell, down in here, you can get a fingernail plus more in there. And I think that's gonna be solvable. I did put silicone, I just put all of these screws in, and then I reached up in there and I had the backing plate with a little bit of clear silicone, and I screwed these screws onto the backing plate. I will say there was one hole, I think it was this one. I had to get my plexiglass drill bit out and re-drill it because it was just so far this way that it just was not gonna go. So when I say I drilled south and I said 0.5 of a millimeter, I'm gonna try and go 0.2 of a millimeter now on this side of the glass on the next one, because I think I think I went a little bit too far. And I think that that's kind of what created this edge here, just because the holes are then a little bit not aligned here. And as you can see, I didn't go nearly as far on this, and then that's where it starts to then seal up again. So I should just be able to take a reamer or something along those lines and just bend this flush to where then it meets the glass nicely. So yeah, I mean, not a total success, but not a total failure either. And luckily this was at a point where it's solvable, because so long as this edge here is good, then these edges you can just bend down to meet with the glass. Okay, everybody, here we are, the final video, and I am really loving the fit and finish here. I'm telling you, drilling the holes, essentially the hole that I drilled, well, it was on these two for the most part, these somewhat, but it was just, I mean, like half a millimeter south of this hole right here that I drilled. I mean, so like pretty much where my fingernail is on the bottom of that T. Not a lot. If you do anything more than that, it'll be impossible to get it in. But I'm loving the fit and finish. This right here, obviously not, has a bit of a gap. I took my hand seamer here and I did these edges. You can see everywhere where there's a line, this is like a large gap, this is a medium gap, etc., etc. So I'm gonna take my hand seamer I gotta take this lens one more time back out, and I'm gonna take my hand seamer and just see if I can get this down a little bit more. But especially around these edges, and then this right here is almost nothing. So the hand seamer did great here. As you can see in the light, you can see where I made the bends, and maybe the paint guy isn't gonna love that or whatever, but I will always take functionality over beauty. So that really doesn't bother me if that's gonna come out in the paint or something like that. But as far as what people had issues with the most, which was around the sides here, I have no issues either way. See if I can get that on camera. Yeah, there's a little bubble maybe right there, but the rest of it is looking really, really good. And this will come out just like it did on the other side with my hand seamer, just taking this bad boy and, you know, twisting it just a little bit. Yeah, anyways, I hope this helps somebody, because I know a lot of people have been complaining about the fit and the finish of these lenses. And this is really my first try here, and I didn't have to order any extra lenses, thank God. I doubt they're all that expensive anyways, but I didn't want to wait for them to come in. Man, doesn't she look pretty with that fly LED in there? Woo. Anyways, again, hope it helps somebody.